Being successful at anything, no matter what, over time, it's all about showing up consistently. It's about consistent effort
Mm,
and consistently focusing on the details.
yeah,
And most people don't want to hear that. They want to be successful overnight. They want to lose 30 pounds in a week.
that'd be
They
so
want to make
great.
$1 million by 21 years old. Say,
Hmm.
well, none of that happens to 99.99999% of people. It's all about learning to be consistent in your effort, in your habits, in your details, creating routines. Like those are ways that anyone can instantly be more successful
Yep.
if they mindfully approach those things. And it's hard to stay consistent with those. Which is where like somebody like me working with you, like I'm able to hold your feet to the fire.
So feel me when I bring it, sing it loud. I'm from the loot and I'm proud. Run a mile for the cause. I'm right.
Hi, guys. It's your girl, Nechama, your favorite Jew from the Lou. Welcome back to my podcast. So, tonight I'm super excited because we are finally here with a very special guest that everyone's been asking me how we know each other. And it's my life coach, Jeff LoVecchio. Say hi.
What up? Excited to be here.
Thank you. So, we're just going to flow and we're going to talk a little bit about your story and then also just our coaching relationship because honestly, it's been so impactful in my life. And I'm kind of glad that this podcast episode had to get redone because now we have so much more to talk about.
A lot more,
A
actually. A
lot
lot
more.
more from when we first recorded. So it's actually
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Everything works out for a reason.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's just dive right into it. And if you can just let the listeners know a little bit about you, who you are, and
Yeah.
what you
So
do.
my name's Jeff LoVecchio, 38 years old. Virgo. No, just just
He
kidding.
is a Virgo.
But I am 38 years old from St. Louis. Currently performance enhancement coach. I work with a lot of professional athletes, a lot of collegiate athletes, and junior hockey players. And then I do have online training where I train, thousands of hockey players a year, all online. Um,
And other non-athletes too.
and other non-athletes, and that's growing day by day. That's growing, and that's a goal of mine, honestly, is to cross
Yeah.
over into training gen pop in a smarter and harder way, the same way I do with my athletes, with the same results that I get my athletes. So before that, I played professional hockey for 10 years, and I went to Western Michigan University for 3 years before signing with the Boston Bruins in the NHL, where I studied exercise science.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
And then you also had a whole career over in Europe.
Well, yeah, so that was part of my career. So I played 10 years professionally. I played 3 years in the US professionally, or maybe four. I think it was four, and then 6 years overseas. I played in Italy, Norway, Japan, Austria.
Yeah.
So I got to see a lot of the world, and
Mhm.
it shaped the way that I approach life. It shaped the way that my perspective on the world. It shaped the way I coach. It was actually a pretty bad situation with my injury and having to go play in Europe, which was, I mean, I loved it and it was awesome, but I didn't expect that when I started my career. But a lot of great things came from that experience. So,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you can find the silver lining to any situation.
I mean, you should. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
That's the goal.
So to dive backwards, so I'm 27, but we unofficially met when I was 21. I had never walked into a gym before. I never thought I would. And my really good friend, Marissa, shout out to you. We decided we wanted to get healthier. And because of her, we walked into the gym together at Club Fitness out in the Valley, which RIP, it's no longer in
R.I.P.
existence. House of Pain is there, though, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
I went there last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, it's way better than Club Fitness was.
Well,
And
yeah.
the owner of House of Pain, Joe, the absolute man.
Yeah.
I owe a lot to him. He stayed open. He put his face on TV, on the news, with his name and his business and everything during the beginning of COVID,
Yeah.
and said, I will not close my gym. Do whatever you want. I will not close the gym.
Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, literally allowed me to like realize, oh, I can do the same thing,
Yeah.
I owe a lot to him, and my business changed because of COVID. My life changed because of COVID.
It did.
But him doing that was a step in that process and allowed me to kind of do some things, and I owe a lot to him. So I'm always a big proponent of people going to house paint because Joe's the man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
But back in the day when it was just
When it
club,
was club, and we had a
yeah,
good time there.
it
You
was,
know.
honestly, at the time, it's what I needed because I can't see 21-year-old me walking into House of Pain.
Yeah. No. There's no chance you could have done that.
No, not
No.
for sure.
Yeah.
But back then, absolutely not.
Right.
It was like 5 minutes from my first job out of college, and we used to go during our lunch breaks. And it was a really great vibe. There were some really good people there. And I used to go during my lunch break, and that was a similar time to when you went. And anyone who goes to the gym, you know how it is. Most of the time, you don't know really anyone, but you know faces,
Yep.
right? Because people's schedules kind of line up. And the next thing you know, there's almost like this unspoken community where you're like, hey, I wonder where the guy where the hat is. He's not here today. He's always here at 11, you know?
Right.
And so I used to make up stories about everyone at the gym. I could not have been more wrong about you.
What was the story?
I was like, he's a foreigner. And I was like, he's a businessman. And that's why he's here sometimes. And that's why he's not, because I'm sure he's traveling.
Yeah. I mean, I own a business, so I guess.
Yeah, but I thought you were more like corporate.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Anything but.
No, totally
I'm far
not.
from it.
But, you're also like the gym mayor. You were so friendly with everybody there. And I remember I finally was there often enough that you, I guess, were just like, hey, I'm going to say hi and just introduce myself, which is so nice. But he didn't know my background. I had grown up super religious, totally Orthodox, and I just really never talked to guys before. And honestly, I was very, very shy, but debilitatingly so.
Mhm.
And so when you came over, you literally didn't do anything wrong. You were just like, hi. That was it. And I was like looked down. My face was in a panic. I don't know what face I made, but I know that I speak with my face. So for sure I did something rude. And I remember looking up, you made a face because I must have insulted you. And then you walked away. And as you were walking away, I was like in my head, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's not you. It's me.
No, I don't.
I'm awkward.
Yeah, no. I mean, I remember seeing you there because you were dressed differently than everybody else.
Back
honestly.
in the day, I used to dress very religiously, covered my elbows and collarbone. Used to
Yeah.
wear skirts
Right.
on top of my leggings or pants that
Yeah.
were 4 inches below my knee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
clearly, I
Yeah.
didn't
You
fit
did
in.
not look like anybody else in there. So,
No.
and I could tell. I watch people's body language. I also I'm always analyzing how people move. So I'm just everywhere I go. If I'm in a room, I'm watching how different people move. And then I'm like, why do they move that way? What's going on with their foot or their ankle or their hip or their neck? So I'm just always watching people because I'm always thinking oh, what would I do? What would I work with them on?
Yeah.
Things like that. And obviously I remember seeing you there multiple times, dressed a lot differently and eyes always buried in the ground, always
It was my
looking down.
worst fear
Yeah.
that some gym bro would come over to me and I was like, what am I supposed to do? Flirt?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, you could tell that you didn't have a lot of self-confidence,
Yeah. Well, it's weird because I did and I didn't. If that
To
makes
me,
sense.
that means you didn't.
Okay.
If it's maybe I did or sometimes I did, that means you don't.
I think my alter ego did.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
But you were also your alter ego sometimes lied to you a little bit, told you a story of where you were at and maybe you weren't actually as far along as you thought.
That's very good way to put
something
it.
like that, and I can only say that now because I've been working with you for almost 2 years, so I've seen the
Transformation.
just the elevation,
It blossomed.
in so many different areas of your life, and it's been really cool to see that,
Yeah, for sure.
and then look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember seeing you at Club Fitness there, and the difference in everything,
So if y'all are wondering how we went from that situation to over here, there's a few more pieces to this puzzle. So what happened is normally if you have an awkward meeting with someone like that, it usually just kind of fizzles out and you're just like, okay, whatever. You brush it off, you move on. Those two people usually never reconnect again unless it's meant to be. And so what happened was I was helping out one of the head trainers, Nick, at the time. Their dynamic fitness and club fitness got into a little tiff, and this was right before COVID. And so all the trainers were no longer allowed to train at the facility anymore. I could go there as a member, but on the days when I met my trainer, we had to go somewhere else. And Elite Football Performance Academy opened up their doors and allowed the trainers and the clients train there. And so we went into the facility and I saw you again, but like almost in a different setting. So I feel like there's almost that moment where when you see someone in another setting, there becomes that familiarity. You become a little bit more comfortable with them. And so I saw you training a bunch of your hockey players because the hockey rink at Maryville wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
And so you were temporarily there as well.
Yep.
And also, if you hadn't been there, you may never have met Tony.
Correct.
Which is just crazy because he's one of your best friends.
Yes.
So full circle.
Wild.
But what happened was we kind of got to that point where we at least were acknowledging each other with a smile. I was like confident enough to at least be like, that was really great for me. At that point, that was it.
Right.
And then what happened was I got injured because I usually don't like doing group fitness classes because I get very competitive. I lose my form, and then that's when I make stupid mistakes. I injured myself, and unfortunately, it was one that kind of triggered something that was like genetic, and then I wasn't able to like walk it off. And so Tony was right there, and everyone there, all the trainers were like, he's such a great guy. You should go see him. He's the best. And he's not so expensive because he was just new, right out of school.
Right.
Now y'all can't afford him. But you can. He has different packages. But so basically what happened was I ended up going to see Tony and he thought he would see me for a month. It'd be one and done. 4 years later, I go once a week for the past 4 years.
Amazing.
Yeah. Because honestly, everyone says about chiropractors, once you go, you can't stop, which is why I never wanted to start. But what they don't tell you is like therapy, and once you go, you realize the benefit.
Well, so Tony, to call Tony a chiropractor is a gross undersell of actually what he does, because he's a physical therapist. He's a chiropractor. He has a CSCS, the highest level of certification you have to be a strength coach or trainer. And he attacks every problem from multiple angles.
Right.
With the most cutting edge, new school of thought, new systems, new approach, everything.
Yeah.
All he does is learn all day, every day. Like it's his ability to consistently level up through just learning everything he can is probably, I've never seen anybody like it. Like it's wild.
It bleeds into all areas of his life. I mean, even his dog listens to podcasts when he's not at home. So his dog is smarter than half the population.
Yeah. So, you go in there is great for your health.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And it's a great atmosphere. He's just built such a great team too. And he's going to be a guest as well. So look forward to that.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be really great.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Of course.
I'm excited. And we'll do it in his new space.
Yeah. There you go. Dope.
But so I went in, and as you know, a lot of times, like, another unique thing about Tony's space is that it's not like your typical chiropractor where it's just you go in, you have your private session with your chiropractor. It's a revolving door. So everyone's kind of just walking in on your session,
Yeah.
And you walked in on mine.
Right.
That's when, and I was kind of at that point where in my life, if I trusted someone and that person said, oh, this person's cool, I was like, okay, cool. They're cool.
Right.
So the fact that Tony said that you were cool, I was like, okay.
He's cool.
And I remember I was doing my Bookstagram at the time. I was going to be a Bookstagrammer, and I told you to follow me. And you said, oh, so you're one of those people that, if I follow you, you'll follow me. And I was like, absolutely. And at the time, you're like, okay, well, what are you going to be known for? And I was like, well, listen, one day I'm going to be famous. And you said, for what? And I said, for being awesome. Which is true, because that's what this podcast is about.
There you go.
So you see,
exactly. You were right.
It's called manifesting.
There you go.
Law of attraction into the secret. But so that kind of started that. I followed you on Instagram. You did not follow me for months, but it's okay.
I don't even remember.
I remember. But it's okay. And so what ended up happening was COVID happened and all the gyms shut down. I was still seeing my trainer at the time at her garage, but I just felt like I had seen the way you trained online, and you were doing more of your train with me, which was very unique because not only was it online training, but it was quite literally what you were doing at the
Yeah.
gym because you had more time now.
Yep.
And so you were dipping into other areas of business. And so I had the idea of, well, since we already knew each other and since I was local, why don't you train me personally? I saw that you had somewhat value to add to my life. So I was like, let me ask. Because if you don't ask, the answer is no.
Right. Always.
I asked and the answer was no. Well, to be fair, you were in your busy season.
Yeah.
Or like you didn't say no like permanently. You were just like, right now, I just don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
And so continued on, and I was still following you on Instagram. Your videos that you made about form and how to do different movements, which he still does. You should check out his page. We'll do all the links at the end of the video. Were so helpful to me. And really, I saw a difference. And then I remember on one of your stories, he put, I'm looking for 20 non-athletes who want to change their life. And you really had only worked with athletes for the most part up until this point.
Yep.
And I'm definitely not an athlete. So I was like, this sounds like me. And I was the first person to reach out.
You were.
Yeah.
And it started from there.
It is. So what was crazy was this happened so organically because really it all started with like fitness, nutrition, just that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you're such a good coach because you're not just about like showing up at the gym and nutrition. You really want to understand your clients. And I know this firsthand because when I wasn't doing results, you would be like, okay, but let's understand why. Help me understand you. And then it just organically morphed. And it took time because I wasn't as trusting as he said. I was very closed off.
Yeah.
It took me time to open up to you. We've been working together now for 2 years, and I think we're finally in a spot where if you say something, I do finally listen.
you definitely apply it a lot quicker.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And whether it's in the way that I said it or in a similar way that makes, more sense for the way that you do things. It's all been a learning process.
Yeah.
For both of us,
There's literally like a little reel that I want to put right here for B-roll. There's this like adult male model with like a little kid walking down the runway and the little kid's crying. And someone put like the little text over it where it's like the universe walking me through my challenges. And the little kid's just like bawling. And I feel like that's been our dynamic where it's like you tell me to do something because you know me now and you know what I need to do to get to my goals. And I'm always like, but why?
Well, you're hesitant to and most people are to get out of their own way, honestly, or being successful at anything, no matter what, over time, it's all about showing up consistently. It's about consistent effort and consistently focusing on the details.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to hear that. They want to be successful overnight. They want to lose 30 pounds in a week. They want to make $1 million by 21 years old. Say, well, none of that happens to 99.99999% of people. It's all about learning to be consistent in your effort, in your habits, in your details, creating routines. Like those are ways that anyone can instantly be more successful if they mindfully approach those things. And it's hard to stay consistent with those, which is where like somebody like me working with you, like I'm able to hold your feet to the fire when you're not doing it or when you slide backwards maybe a little bit. And we can talk about, okay, but not just like what. We know what the what is. You know what the what is. Okay, I stopped working out before work. That's why I've been missing workouts. We know what the what is. But let's get down to the why. Is it your sleep? Is there a relationship thing that's keeping you up at night? Or is your sleep poor quality and your cortisol levels are higher and you're not managing stress as well? It's always getting to the why of every issue or every goal or anything, and then creating plans based off of that.
Yeah. For sure. And a movie, I've seen clips of it, but I've never watched it all the way through till literally just last week. But Coach Carter.
Yeah. Great movie.
Great movie. And I feel like I have such an appreciation for him as a coach because having you as a coach, I see so many parallels. And actually what was so like serendipitous is one of my favorite quotes. It was on my grandmother's piano. It's a poem. It's an excerpt from this book called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And I just want to read it for a moment because I think it's so powerful and everyone should hear it. And it's also a quote from the movie as well. So, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. You're playing small, tide's not serving the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others.
Wow.
hmm
That's great.
Especially that line about like, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same.
Yeah.
I've quite literally seen it. Even something as simple as I like to say that one of the things that I'm working on currently is having a resting, smiling face.
Yes, that has been a topic of conversation.
Yeah, I know it sounds like so simple, but it's like, it's literally changed my world.
I mean, think about we always talk about the secret and law of attraction and energy and how like attracts like. If you want people to approach you smiling and in a happy manner,
hmm
you should have that on your face as they're approaching you.
Right.
Like it sounds so simple, but a lot of people like don't think this way. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people get angry at that they went to Qdoba or Chipotle or some type of place like that where it's kind of like assembly line food and the people aren't nice and whatever. If you walk up and you say, "Hey, man, how's your day going?" Literally watch the difference in interaction. Watch the difference in how much food they give you too. That's actually what I think is like the funniest is that, you're not doing it because of that, but when you realize, wow, like when I'm nicer up front, people are nicer back to me or more generous or
Yeah.
anything, and it makes everybody's existence happier. So it's not that you have, resting bitch face or anything,
No, I have
but
resting sad face.
yeah, I would say more like inquisitive face sometimes, just like,
That's
and,
intimidating.
and it can be,
Yeah,
honestly, it can be.
because we're all self-conscious.
Right. And so you're like, is that person judging me? Are they thinking about me? Right. But if you're
hmm
inviting and a smile and a warm handshake, hug, whatever it may be, it's crazy the difference in the way that people in all different areas of your life, whatever you're doing, the way that they interact with you.
I think there's so much to like self-development, and I think part of our process was just getting to know each other, the trust that we had to develop first, because that's what happens between coach and client. You have to have the trust. You have to know the person you're coaching, which takes time. And then also it's like knowing the different pain points and then figuring out a game plan. But then there's also unlearning because there was a time period I feel like where we kind of weren't really growing because I had to unlearn. I knew what the problem was. I knew what the solution was, but I was still holding on to so many like old descriptions of like who I was, you
Right.
know?
Right. And just like your old habits and ways of doing things. And like,
hmm
you know, I met you when you were how old? 25? 20,
Yes.
25?
24,
Or when
25.
we started working together,
Yeah.
25, right? Like it took you 25 years. You were the way you were the day of our first meeting because of what happened the last 25 years.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying I'm trying to change you at all, but we're just trying to elevate you and help you be your best you and reach whatever your goals
Wanted to
are.
change. That's why I work with
Right,
you, you
right.
know?
But it's like habits and details that have been ingrained for 25 years. You've got to like, not you, everyone, like you got to realize, okay, like I can't just make the switch overnight,
Right.
and that's where the one thing with you is we constantly go back to like, what is your why? What is your why? What is your why? Like you have to constantly remind yourself of
hmm
whatever your why is. And your why will probably be a moving target. It's going to always be adapting.
Yeah.
And your plan should then also always be adapting to what your why is. You
Right.
don't do the same thing at 10 because your goals at 10 are going to be different than at 20. So you're going to attack your goals at 20 a different way than at 10 because you're trying to hit a different target. And that's just how your life has to look to give yourself the most chance to be successful and happy.
Yeah. It's just so crazy to think like how it all evolved. And I'm just so grateful too because I don't know if you knew this. I don't think I've ever told you this, but like a big part of like when we first started working out was I had this tremendous fear because I just felt so grateful and honored to be working with you. I knew how busy you were. I knew I wasn't your typical clientele, and I knew that you were the person who could help me.
Yeah.
But I also knew that it was taking longer than maybe you would want it to. In
Yeah,
my
but
head, that was something I put on
yeah,
me, I think.
but that's just something that you put in your own head.
But that's what I wanted to say with like, I'm just so grateful for like the same way in the movie, like Coach Carter, like really believes in those kids,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
never gave up on them. And he
Right.
really pushed them in so many different ways. And sometimes it was through tough love, and sometimes it was through like just real love,
Right. Right.
And there's knowing when to have the different approaches.
Yeah.
And like you've had so much patience with me, and you never gave up on me, and you never were like, I can't work with you as a client anymore. And I was so afraid of that in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. And you didn't need to be, I mean, I think that, it's it's like you're not my typical clientele, right?
No.
Like I usually work with pro and college athletes,
Yeah.
but for me, it was an exciting challenge. And, like I know I just always look back and think about what did I do to be successful in hockey? Because I think sports teach so much about how to be successful in life, like
Hmm.
so many different little things that you learn through sports. And so I always think back, and I've been saying this a lot to a lot of like people I have these like confidence calls with pro and college athletes. And it's like, well, you didn't become a pro athlete when you were 3 or 5 or 13, 18, even 21, you were a pro athlete.
Hmm.
It took you to 24 to become a pro and 25 to get to the NHL.
Yeah.
So like, then when they're retired and they just want to be successful at a new business when they're 40 that they've never done before, I'm like, dude, it took you 21 years to become a professional athlete, or 24 years or whatever it was. You're not going to be the best you've ever been at this new thing in your life at age 40 out of the gate. It's going to take time. And it's the same for you. It's the same for me and my goals. It's the same for Murph. It's the same for anybody. Like the more you realize that you can't set a time limit on anything, but it's just like I'm running towards my goal every day, trying to move the needle a little bit further, a little bit further.
Yes. And there's
That's how you
so
got to
much
live.
peace in that.
Yes.
Like I feel like so many women specifically, I'm gonna call y'all out. This is what's happening in the conversations that I'm having with friends of mine, whether they're new friends and acquaintances that I'm making or old friends that I've had. So many of us, maybe it's because like biologically as women, we have like this clock in our head when we can have like babies and stuff. But so many women have like time clocks in their head about when they want to get into a relationship, to get married, to have children, and where they want to be in their career, like all these things, right? And I was definitely one of them. I had a very specific time limit, and that's part of why I was so closed off and stressed all the time.
Yes.
And you know what's so crazy? Because I was like that, I mean, obviously everything happens exactly when it's supposed to, but I really do believe that I pushed off a lot of the blessings and opportunities that I now currently have because I was just in such a like desperate energy,
Yeah. 100%. And, again, this goes back. I had 2 calls today. I have a call after this podcast with the player. I have 3 calls tomorrow with coaches. And it's like a lot of the same thing. When you focus only on the result, all of these other things in your life are going to suffer. And you're going to do things when you only focus on the result that actually don't get you the result. It's focusing on the little tiny details.
Yeah.
Day in and day out, and really like elevating your details, elevating your habits, elevating those little things that wind up. You should judge yourself on a successful day on those things. Did I do the
Mhm.
things that make me my best? Like the 4 things that make me successful, that make me happy. Did I do those? Not did I make $1 million today? Because you're going to get there eventually if you do all these little things correctly for the rest of your life and you focus on these or whatever your goal is, right? You're going to get closer and closer and closer. And throughout that process, you'll learn, adapt, apply to get more efficient, more effective over time. But it takes time. But it's focusing on the little details that wind up moving the needle and not the result. And then that allows you to not have the pressure of when am I getting the cookie? When am I getting the result? When am I making $1 million? When am I going to be married. When am I? When am I? When am I? When am I? So now you're not out there just like focusing on being your best you, which winds up elevating you, which then attracts you to people who are also elevated or are elevating themselves for business, for relationships, for everything. You know, we need to stop putting so much pressure on ourselves, but we need to focus on the daily details because that's what changed your life.
That was one of the most impactful things that you taught me.
It's hard to like, it's not sexy. It's not what you see on social media. It's nobody shows this because like, it's not like you don't just see this all the time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's nobody wants to hear this stuff. And so a lot of people don't want to do this, but like, this is how you get to whatever your goals are.
But I will say that like, here's the other side of it. We're so focused on hearing about the end results, right? We see like an old couple and they're so romantic, or we see like an older group of women or men and we're just like, the end results. They're so happy, right? And it's like they wish that they were us, that they were young, that they got to do it again, they get to be in the process and the unknown and the excitement of that, you know? And it's like the thing is we only have today. You quite literally don't have anything more than today. And that's what you taught me because what happened was I was a very unique case because unlike most people, when I want something, I go after it 110%. And I would be on this like crazy trajectory and I talk the talk and I walk the walk and everyone's like, she's destined for greatness, right? And then something would happen and all of a sudden I would just plummet.
You abandoned ship.
I would self-sabotage.
Yep, 100%.
And it took us a really long time to like dissect that and figure out what it was.
Well, what I think was most impactful with you is we started like talking more about the value and the importance for you in like daily self-reflection that because you had this cycle of I'm going 100 at it and I'm killing it. And you're on this trajectory where it's like, I'm succeeding, I'm doing awesome. And then you hit one bump in the road and it wouldn't like kind of like go like this. It would be like one bump in the road, like straight Wile E. Coyote off the cliff.
Like all or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, no, like everybody's going to fail. Everybody's going to make mistakes. It's going to happen all the time. And the sooner you realize that, okay, own your mistake, whatever it was, own your fucking mistake.
Be accountable.
And be accountable because then you can dissect it, look at it from all angles and go, how can I get better from this mistake? And that's where, when we put in this thing where we made it like, hey, if you ever feel yourself slipping, like if you feel like you're about to go off that cliff or you made a mistake and you're about to do a negative action that we know is taking you further away from your goals, which ultimately when you do that once, it led you down that off the cliff path. How do we get to stop you in your tracks and find a way to shift your mindset being back to something positive? And we did a bunch of different things. You were wearing bracelets at different, for months at a time that meant something only to you and I, that you knew what they meant. So when you look down, it would remind you, hey, don't do that. Like, let's do this because this action gets me closer to my goals. And journaling and, we've done, text me if you need me. Like we've done a whole bunch of different things. But I think that's been the most important thing. I was actually texting with your mom recently.
Was she really? Yeah. Guys, my mom texts Jeff all the time. He made the mistake of texting her on her birthday so that she has a number.
Mistake. What's up, Mom? Love you.
She loves you too.
Yeah. Remember the first time I was like, wait, do I hug her? Do I not hug her? I don't know what to do. I'm hugging her.
And then literally my mom was like, Jeff, to me.
I didn't know the rules of the religion. I'm sorry. I love your mom. But yeah, I was talking to her recently via text and I was saying that's one of the biggest things that I focus on with you is that everybody has a plan. Mike Tyson said this, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Like, yeah, it's great to have a plan, but you also got to know that that plan is going to get derailed a lot. So what do you do when you're confronted with a bump in the road or a punch in the face? Right. And how do you recollect yourself? Are you able to gather yourself? Are you able to stay on that course, even though you had that bad thing or the dip or the punch and whatever it was, right? And so for me, that's one of the biggest things that we have worked on with you that's helped. And that is something that we just need to continue working on moving forward. I'm the same way too.
It's a constant process.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're the richest man in the world or the poorest man in the world. Like if you want to get better, you're going to have to go through it's a circle. It's just always a circle, you just keep going.
You
Yes.
got your reference?
Yes.
I won't.
You got it.
But I'll say, like, I've said this on different episodes, but this is like a reoccurring theme for me where I just like, I'm one of the things that I'm falling in love with about getting older is that through my life experiences, I've seen the ups and downs. And so I have that framework to look back on to be like, okay, if I felt it wasn't the worst thing in the world, and this is how I felt, but this is how I felt when I was high. So there's more life experience to know that, like, maybe we could, as you would always say, I have so many drawings in my journal of him being like, let's not do this. Let's make it
Let's not do
smaller.
Do that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's so cool. And so like, God willing, this will be like a coaching client relationship that will go on for like ever because it's really been so impactful to me. Like, I mean, first of all, fitness and nutrition wise, like ever going, I'm still learning, I'm still applying, but it's been so great in terms of like other results in my life. Also, like in terms of financially, like second weekend, third weekend, I'm at my dream job.
What? Got out of corporate
Got out of
with a
corporate
pay bump
with a pay
and a
bump
massive title bump?
and a massive title bump. I am now a senior graphic designer.
Let's go. Yes, he is.
Yeah, and I'm working in Kirkwood, and it's just
And
like
it's a beautiful area.
it's like a
and
Hallmark movie.
It literally is. And I love that we're meeting there now in
It's so
downtown
great.
Kirkwood. That's always fun.
Yeah.
It's really exciting for me to see it all over the last 2 years
Yeah.
from the girl I met at our first meeting until, this being your second week of your new dream job and
Yeah.
you slaying it and just all these positive wins in your life. And I truly believe that this is just a philosophy I have for pretty much freaking everyone in life is that we've used a lot of things in the gym as metaphors in our talks. We've also you've also had to push yourself very hard physically. And there's days where you don't want to, but you have to be accountable to me. And with the gym, when you push yourself to do something you don't want to do, because you're
At
not always
5
going to want to do
a.m.
it at 5 a.m. and
Mm.
showing up consistently and doing hard things often and pushing yourself to get better. And which then makes you more mindful of going to bed earlier because you have to wake up early to get your workout in, to eat healthy. It just makes the things that you thought were hard in your business, in your personal life and whatever. And you're like, this isn't as hard as getting up at 4 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. for 8 months straight, never missing a day, making sure I get in my protein and doing this and this and pushing myself.
Yeah.
Jeff making me do these super hard challenges in the gym.
Oh my
Nothing
gosh.
in your workday is
Right.
ever actually that hard. So it gives you this perspective to zoom out and when you are faced with a task that seems hard for everybody. And you're like, you guys don't know what I've already done this week, let alone this month. Yeah, okay, this will be tough. It won't be as tough as the other shit I'm doing.
Right.
And so I think that's why the gym has this profound effect to have a very positive effect on the rest of people's lives.
Yeah. And I think, there's in any relationship, it takes two to tango, right? So it's like you're a great coach, but I'm a great client.
Yeah, you are. Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, just to give you an example of like a challenge that Jeff gave me that I just took and ran with was we knew like filters on social media were detrimental for everyone, but especially I think women, because back in the day, early 2000s, it'd be like magazines, celebrities. Yeah, there was like the pressure, but it was like far away. Now with filters, it's everybody. It's your best friends. It's your parents. Like, it's so hard because even though realistically we know that it's not reality, our brain forgets. And that causes so much anxiety and depression and just low self-worth, I remember there were so many photos that I have where my cousin Ezra, who's like my brother, he he sent it to me, took a screenshot, zoomed into my face real close, and he was like, "Are you using a filter?" And I was like, "No, that's my face. What are you talking about?"
And at the top of the screen, it says the filter name. You didn't even notice it said that.
Did it really?
I mean, a lot of them do, yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like a real thing. This is a real topic, and it was not easy. This was not an easy topic, but like
No.
you were literally you would not put yourself on. You wouldn't take a picture of yourself without filters. You wouldn't
Yeah.
put yourself on social media without filters, and like if you dig down deep into that, like, okay, like, well, let's talk about that. Like, why, and that's not an easy conversation to have with yourself. And, but it's not an easy conversation to have with somebody else, but
No.
we had those conversations and I mean, I don't know, like, I haven't seen you don't use filters anymore. Like
No, I do backwards catfishing now.
backwards catfishing. You
That's what
heard it here first.
That's what all the cool kids do. So basically, here's what backwards catfishing is. Everyone understands this. We all say we look better in person, right? So you see a video or a photo of me, and then you meet me in person. Can I just pause for a moment and say, also, like, he's helped my dating life too, which going into it, never would have thought that would have been something that you
Right.
would have encouraged me in.
Right.
But like when I first was back on the first time really ever back on dating apps, my goal was to not put any filtered photos on my profile, which I didn't, which was so
Which
crazy.
was very hard for you back in the day.
To the point where, like, this is to prove you what backwards catfishing is. I would show up on dates and then guys would be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so pretty." Just because I look so much better than my photos.
There you go.
Just saying.
Which honestly, like,
They were shocked.
well, also, like, think about the opposite. When you used to have these doctored, fake, filtered photos,
They were so
and then
bad. I
you
didn't even realize.
well, and then you would show up on a date, and guys were probably like, "Dude, what the hell?" Like,
Yeah, they did. It
you
was
look
really
way different than ever. Like, I thought your hair was brown because you're using all these filters, whatever, they're thinking. So, like, okay, well, maybe like your dates aren't going well, literally only because of that, and so
No, it's true because
zooming out.
if you start off meeting someone on a lie, it doesn't matter if you're the most special person in the world. They're just like,
Right.
who are you?
And that, I think obviously digging deeper, it's obviously a way, way more in-depth topic talking about like why does anyone feel like they have to put filters on everything, and like what does that do to your
It's a
self-worth?
deep insecurity.
What does that do to just like your mindset? What does that do to so many it's so bad for you when you dig into the psychology of that. Like I don't think that those should be a thing. Like it's really bad. It's really bad.
Your challenge to me back in the day was to actually be off Instagram for a week.
Yeah.
And I took it.
And
I
that was
ran with it.
also because like your time suck was crazy.
My time suck, and then watching other people's lives was also causing me a lot of issues.
A lot of issues with insecurity
Yeah.
and why am I not where they are, and the comparison game, which is a made up thing,
Because no one's lives are real.
everybody's doing different things at different times.
And even if that moment was a moment of joy, it's just the moment. They still are a full person. Like, it
Right.
doesn't show everything.
Right.
So I took that 1 week, I ran with it, and I was actually off of Instagram and all socials for over a year.
Unbelievable.
Mhm.
Because you were on YouTube and Instagram for hours a day.
Mhm.
Hours a day, which was affecting your sleep, which
Mhm.
was affecting your workouts, which was affecting your nutrition, which was affecting your mindset big time with the comparison game.
Mhm.
It affected a lot. And, I'm somebody who uses Instagram every day in the opposite way, trying to affect people's lives positively. And I understand how it can be a positive benefit because that's how I use it in my own life every day. But that's not how it was. No matter what you thought it was being used for, like it was bringing you down
It was.
in many ways. And as soon as you got off of it for that year, you went like it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was actually crazy.
Yeah. I felt really great. Honestly, I never thought I would be back on, but got to do it for the podcast.
Yeah, but you're smarter about it. But when she did DM me last night at like 10:30 p.m. on a story about her doing the podcast with me tonight, I said, "Why the hell are you on Instagram at 10:30?"
And I
I
sent,
wasn't happy about that.
and I sent an angel face.
Don't get sucked back in late at night.
But you still can. Even now, I still see it happening. Like, that's the thing. Like, just because you've risen above a challenge, you can't get in your head and think that you are better and that you can't keep yourself accountable. Like, you will always, for the rest of your life, need to have moments where you have to really look yourself in the mirror and say, listen, I fell back. And listen, it's easier now because I've got past it once. I can do it again, and it will be easier this time because I know how great it felt.
And you just know now, if I just lock back down into my habits and details that make me my best me,
Yeah.
I'm instantly going to get back to that successful pattern, successful living, happier life. And it's not easy. Everybody thinks happiness is just what you should be. No, you got to work to be happy. You got to earn happiness. You don't just like get to be happy. You don't just get to do nothing and be happy. It's not a thing.
It's a privilege.
Yeah, you have to earn it. You can work. It's a job. And it's also at some level, it is partly a choice. It is partly a choice to see the world in a way that allows you to be happy and have a positive mindset. I could easily be upset with a million things a day, but I don't let myself after 1 minute. RSF, Relentless Solutions Focus, great book that helped me hone this in, is I give myself a minute and then, okay, how can I immediately make this situation better?
Yeah.
Immediately, right now, whether that's by an inch or by a mile, there's something I can do right now to flip this on its head and get just a little bit better. And when you start to think that way, literally everything changes.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's practice and it's repetition and it's every day, doing things. And it sounds robotic. It's really not, because doing these things and being able to snap out of a bad decision or, a downward fall quicker allows you to get back to being you and being healthy and being happy sooner.
Yes.
Just by locking down on some simple things. And it's worked with literally everybody I've ever worked with. Like when you do it, it's a lot. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah. So you guys can see, like, it's so ironic because anyone who knows me knows that I enjoy going to a sports game. And the fact that I even said that like that just shows you what I know about sports.
Sports match.
So much fun. I look good in the colors, but I just never really been into sports. My brothers tried, God bless them. But for me, what I've always loved, I do love watching sports movies. And I think part of it is because there's something about the story behind someone going after a goal with everything that they have. And so there is that irony that we work together, because it's like, yes, I appreciate that you have that like pro athlete background, but like of anyone in the world, I'm the one who probably understands it the least, But as you guys can see, just based on this conversation, the energy, the dynamic, the conversations that we've had, there's so much more even to athletes than just the game, right? The mentality, the conditioning that they have to do in their brain and in like their physique, like there's so much to it. And I really believe that even if you are not a pro athlete, everyone is an athlete, right? Life is your game. You need to train for it.
100%. I mean, I think that every kid should have to play a team sport. Every single kid, and it's probably should just be done through gym class, because there's so many metaphors that you can literally use to teach all of these positive things and details and habits and life lessons that you can just hide inside of sports.
And learning to be on a team, learning not to just think for yourself. Like
Right.
it's
Going
never
after
ending.
a goal, giving your all, dedication, responsibility, being on time, just like all of these, being a leader, being a good follower. Like there's so many different things. And that's what happens in business and corporate culture. And, so putting everything on the line for one thing that you really want to do. Like there's so many different things that I learned through sports. If you are able to zoom out and see those lessons and how they can apply to literally everyone in every field, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And I only think that I was able to zoom out and see these things because I started my coaching career during my playing career. Because I had 14 concussions, after it was probably like my 11th concussion, maybe, I decided to start playing over in Europe, overseas, because the game is a little bit less physical and you play less games, and I could make, the teams pay for your taxes and your agents. So I would wind up making more money because I wasn't in the NHL. So by being over there, I just I saw all of these different ways of living and like zooming out. And I had to learn lessons about the game that I think that maybe you don't learn if you're making $2 million a year, $10 million a year. Like you just play the game. You're like at that high of a level. I was using the game and then also coaching the game while I was playing the game and trying to make that a new career that I knew I would have to fall back on whenever my career did end over in Europe.
Yeah.
And so I had to extrapolate these things that I was doing daily and how I could teach them to kids, in a easily digestible manner. And so I just think that then I learned, oh my God, like these things that I'm taking here and teaching here to the younger athletes, those go to my older athletes. Those go to the millionaires that I'm training during the hockey season when the guys are gone, to working with you, to working with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think sports are really important for youth because of that.
Transitioning from what you're talking about, doing some research, I did do some sports research,
Sports research.
which was that like a lot of like children who do play hockey or any sport really, but specifically hockey, it's like the chances of them going pro, even if they're committed all the way through middle school, high school, whatever, and college, the chances of them going pro is like 0.11%.
Oh yeah, it's nothing.
It's
It's nothing.
nothing.
It's
Yeah.
nothing.
And
Yeah.
so that's what I wanted to ask you was like, clearly you were so dedicated and so into it, but like, what do you think it was about you
We
that
have
got you there?
I have a pretty big podcast that's in the hockey world. It's called the Hockey Think Tank Podcast. And we had on a Hall of Famer years ago, probably like in our second year. So it's probably like 2 or 3 years ago. And he said a quote on there that also encapsulated like how I was able to make it as far as I did. Obviously, this guy's amazing, had a way better career than me. But same, just different levels. He said, I wasn't the best skater. I wasn't the best shooter. I wasn't the best passer. I didn't have the highest hockey IQ, but I was the best at getting better every day.
Mm,
And that was something that allowed me to, I wouldn't have even made it like out of St. Louis, but
right.
like I was obsessed with getting better. I used the gym to really like get way better than everybody else because when I was playing at the beginning of my pro career, beginning of my college career, junior career, like only like 75% of guys took training seriously. But I took it like life or death, which allowed me to leapfrog like everybody. I kind of found like, oh, like not everybody's doing this yet. And I'll do it at 100% every day, which gave me that leg up. Right. And so I just had to work for it. Like every year, every single year, I'd move up and I would be one of the worst players. And by the end of the year, I'd be one of the best players and then go to the next level, go to the next level, go to the next level. And that's just how I had to live. And all of those trials and tribulations and learning to push through doors that were closed on me. And I had to kick in a window and do whatever I could to get seen or noticed or make a team or get paid or get the next contract, whatever it was. That just allowed me to like put that mindset into my life now,
Yeah.
post career, So for me, not having a sick NHL career and making 20 million or 50 million or whatever, wound up being like the best thing ever, honestly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
What's crazy also is like, usually when you are pursuing a goal that hard, your main goal is success, right? That's what you're thinking about. It's definitely more on a personal level. Even though, yeah, you want to be one of the team, but at the same time, it's like in the end of the day, you are looking out for yourself. But I feel like you're in a place in your life right now, and you have been for the past 10 years or so since you've, left your professional hockey career, where your whole brand is give more, be more. You're all about giving back. You're all about community. You're all about like building this world to be a better place, right? And so when do you think that transition happened where you went from being so internally focused to externally focused?
Well, the second that I decided to retire from hockey, like I built up a pretty large business from the end of my third year when I started my company to the end of my 10th year professionally. So over those 6 off seasons, those 6 summers, I would come home and I would train and pros would pay to work out with me. I wasn't even training pro guys. They were paying to do my workout next to me. Because I wasn't training people yet. And then as the summers went on, then I started to coach them actually. But every summer my business would grow and grow and grow. And I had 2 clients the first year, paying clients, not the pros who were just paying to work out with me, like paying me to coach them.
Yeah.
I had 2, I think it was, or 3. And then it was like 9 and or something, and 13, and then 33, and then 100, over 100, over 100. And the last year before I went over to Austria, my last year, I trained over 300 players that summer.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's after training me and pro guys from 6 to 9 a.m., 6 days a week. And I worked 7 days a week to build my business. It was not easy at all. It was not easy to go into training camp in shape when I was working all day training other players to be in the best shape ever, on top of already training myself and skating at the end of summer and all these things. None of that was easy, but it all set me up to, when I finished, have all of my energy and all of my time be put into helping others reach their goals, because my goal was over. Like, my goal my whole life, be a professional hockey player. It's my whole goal. Everything that I did was to be a professional hockey player. And so the day that my career was over, it was like, okay, well, now my life is geared towards helping everybody else reach their goals. And it started with just hockey. And I've just realized that I love this. I have a passion for it. I'm very good at it. I love speaking to people. I love helping people elevate their lives. I love helping athletes elevate their game, their lives, everything, relationships. This is just all I want to do. And I was sitting my first year being retired. I was with the first supplement company I was ever with. It was called Isogenics. They flew me out to Arizona to go to this conference. And my flight got canceled when everybody else left. There was like 5,000 people at this conference. Everybody's flights got out, mine didn't. So I was like the only person from the conference left in this downtown. I don't even know if it was Scottsdale or wherever we were. And so I was just like walking around downtown, listening to music. I found this like random little business park out in the middle of like the city. And inside this like business park was this like, it was such a movie. It was like the light, the sun shined on it, rainbows shot out of people's asses. It was like right in the middle of this business park.
Were you high?
No, I wasn't. Not at this time. But it was this, like, I'm trying to be funny. It was this beautiful like ponds with like greenery and
No, it's true. Business parks are gorgeous.
I was just like, oh my God. And like, I just sat there and I just like listened to the fountain and the water. And I was the only person in this thing, just like thinking, breathing, meditating. Like, what do I want out of my life? Like, where do I want to go with this? Thinking about, do I want to be with this supplement company? Do these people have the same goals as me? And I remember just sitting there for a couple hours, just like thinking, like, where do I want my life to go? I need to decide like which direction I'm going to go. Cause I was only a couple months retired at this time.
Yeah.
And obviously I knew I was into performance and that my business was already pretty good and big and stuff. But I was like, I want to have a bigger impact on the world, on people, on not just athletes, and a bigger impact on athletes. And I was like, I need to give more of myself. I need to give more of my time. I need to give more of my energy. I need to like go all in and just like throw myself into this like I did in my hockey career. And I don't know how I came up with that, but I was like, if I give more, I will be more. And I just like was like, yeah, that's a cool, like, I'm a big motto guy, as you know, writing stuff down, notes everywhere. And I was just like, if I give more, I'll be more. And I was just give more, be more. Like, oh, that's easy to say. It's easy for me to remember. It's easy for me to say to myself when things get hard or trying or things like that. And I Googled a tattoo shop and I walked 2 miles to a tattoo shop, got it tattooed on me. And a few months later, a clothing brand reached out to me and was like, we'd love to send you some give more, be more stuff. We love what you stand for. Cause I started to put it on my Instagram, talk about it on my podcast. And then that turned into my clothing line that, you know, now is sold tens of thousands of dollars and is growing every year. And it's a brand with an actual message. And, you know, you have built this beautiful logo.
I did.
My new company logo that I've been using for a couple months is in my turf, is on your shirt, is on my shirt. Like, you know, and that's just such a cool thing to come out of it that, you know, forever, you know, you're the one who redid my logo and I absolutely freaking love it.
How the tables have turned.
How the turntables have turned or something.
Because I am your client, but you were my client when I did your logo.
Yeah.
And honestly, you were literally a dream client because he quite literally drew what he wanted. And then he's like, I don't know, make it professional. And it was so easy. And then I added a little flair, a little
pizzazz, made it meaner.
And then you looked at it and you're like, this is perfect. You did great. And it's like, but you were so helpful because your vision was so clear.
Right.
We definitely are going to need to do another one.
Round 2.
For sure, because there's no way we're going to cover everything in just one episode. Yeah. But
come back for sure.
I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you being here right now, sharing with the listeners, but also just on a personal level, like for everything you've done for me. You and I know what that is. They don't need to know everything. They don't need to know all my business.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so excited that I got to have you on as a guest and people could have like a little taste of what it's like to have you as a coach. Unfortunately, y'all won't get to because his time is
Well,
limited.
I'm trying to find ways to open up what you and I do to more people,
Yeah.
because just to see, and it's not me, it's you doing the work, and me holding you accountable, and we're coming up with plans together, but just like to see like where your life has gone from
Hmm.
day one until now, like the bonuses, the promotions, the things that you earned at your old job, the opportunities, the way that you live your life is stronger, is more intentional, is more to help others and also help yourself more,
Mhm.
and to see you going after things and starting this fucking podcast.
Which is also because
Like,
of you.
I mean, like it's just you're fucking living and you're going after things and you're making shit happen, and you're a
Mhm.
happier person, you're a more successful person. And for me, as somebody who's been able to be in the shotgun riding and seeing it, it's been really fucking cool. And then to be topping it off with us sitting on the logo that you created in my unbelievably beautiful brand new home gym that I just built.
It's stunning.
Yeah, well, that's that. It's something that every time you see us in my Instagram videos, follow me at Jeff LoVecchio. You'll see them every time, and think
Yeah.
about the work we've done. So I appreciate you too.
Thank you. And so I have this tradition because really the whole point of my podcast is based on this Hebrew quote, which is Ezehu Chacham, Halamed Mikol Adam, which means one who is wise is one who learns from everyone. Because everyone has a story, everyone has something to teach. And we have learned so much from you today. But if we could just get one last little piece of wisdom, if you could share either a favorite quote or life lesson that has impacted you.
Well, I think since you guys know, especially throughout the podcast and seeing Nechama's logo, that the life motto is GMBM, give more, be more. So I don't want to make it easy. So I'll give you my second favorite quote, and this is hand painted in my gym. I used to wear this on a dog tag necklace for like 10 years. Life gives to the giver.
Yes.
The more you give, the more you help the world, the more it comes back to you. I believe in karma. I believe in the law of attraction. The better the energy you put out, the more good stuff you put out, the harder you do everything, the better you do everything. Elevate yourself. Life gives to the giver. It'll come back.
Hmm. Thank you.
Absolutely.
This has been great. Okay, so you guys, we're going to put all of his contact information. But is there anything else that we can do to support you?
I mean, if anybody out there is looking to elevate their fitness game, just follow my Instagram. You can check out my new website, gmbm.com. I just dropped it.
It looks so good.
Thank you. It took me, it's supposed to take a couple months. It took me a year.
That's
I'm not,
normal. You should know.
yeah,
Websites take a
yeah.
long time.
Yeah, but I'm really happy with it, how it came out. I'm really happy how it's going to allow me to interact with people who really want to work with me and set up a call or
Mhm.
set up, anything, a workout plan, or buy my GMBM merch with Nechama's badass logo on it. It's on there. So gmbm.com, or just go to my Instagram. And if you have any questions on anything I put up 4 to 5 videos a week, every single week. I have for years. I will not stop. I love helping people train smarter and harder in the gym, and in a way that won't get you injured and will help you to like live a healthier, happier life. If you have any questions on there, please do not hesitate to reach out. Please. Like, I love meeting all these people that I get to talk to
He
through
actually
Instagram.
responds.
Yeah. I try to answer every
Yeah.
single DM. I get like 100 plus a day now. So there are some that I miss, but I send it again if I miss it. I literally try to answer every single DM. So any questions at all on that stuff, I'm your guy. I love to help.
Yeah. As per usual, you could find the podcast on all the platforms, but the video is on Spotify and YouTube. Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review, and then also just positive comments. But please just share with a friend. That's all we ask. We want to grow the podcast, and we're just excited. So if you have a story, DM me, because you never know. You might be my next guest. So I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks so much for listening. Let's get it. Let's go.